Welcome everyone to the next Living the Mystical Life Daily webcast. Come on, everyone, come on and join in on the room as we are waiting for everyone to come in and get settled. We have an incredibly potent webcast for you today. We are going to be giving away a free course to come to the event, 2 tickets to come to the event that will be this October 5th through the 8th. Now, for those of you who've gotten the email, it's really simple. You need to be a member. That's what makes you eligible. And what you will get is 2 free tickets to come to the event and the course. Some of you are brand new today. I'm going to be showing you how to consciously apply the sacred art of living the mystical life daily. This is the out loud, name it to claim it system without giving your power away. Because the name it to claim it system is reclaiming your energy based in awareness. Our mantle of self-responsibility is equal to your level of awareness. What is outside of your awareness is the universe functioning with you in some way, shape, or form. So that is the process that's going to open up your expression. I'll be here answering your questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat room. And we're going to be getting on to having some calls here in just a moment. Now, I'm guessing a lot of you, this is, again, not your first webcast. The first thing is I want to mention is that if you haven't had success at the sacred process of applying your discipline, it's okay. Everyone has issues. This out loud, name it to claim it system will challenge you out of mediocrity. Not everyone is in mediocrity in every subject matter at any moment. Everyone else of us has a genius in us. Mediocrity is a form of conformity to a world. Those of you that are here today don't want to conform to the world. New or old, long-time listeners or brand new listeners, it still comes down to sacred discipline. Are you ready to apply? And this out loud, name it to claim it system is a blueprint of looking at the reality and saying, how can I take back my power based in my awareness? For everything is energy. This is a hologram of light. Knowing that it's a hologram of light, that's where a lot of people keep themselves from their own personal success. Because they take on too much information and they ultimately can't process or integrate it. I have had this saying since the first few days of me coming on air. We have what are called drive-by listeners. Some of you may identify with this term. Once or twice a month, or once or twice a year, or once or twice every couple months, you tune in to what's going on in the consciousness, spirituality, UFO community, this, that, channelers, this, that, whatever, and you get your fix, and then you go back on with your life. We offer tools. Those that go from drive-bys to dailies ultimately become what? Practicers. Now, practitioners need illumination. The system is your own self-illumination. The system has proven itself over and over and over again through all the testimonies that we've had over the years that I've been doing this privately and now offering it publicly for now the 2nd year. This whole living the mystical life daily is based off of your personal investment into it. By using the out loud, name it to claim it system as an understanding of awareness, that you are increasing your awareness to say to the system of energy that is around you, no, you cannot engage me in drama, despair, manipulation, and false concepts. I'm using my awareness to say no to the energy that's coming through my unawareness. Okay? Many of you have been told that you need to go to India or ashrams or live in a cave or a monastery and travel to the ends of the earth and to Mount Kilimanjaro as your own self-illuminate, to find your own self as your own self-illuminated master. That's their view. That's their expression. And I'm going to look at the chat room right now so that we can take some questions from there, because the last one I was not able to take as many questions as I wanted to. Okay. So here's one from Guest 1064. I have a question. I was told that a spirit guide is holding me by the arm. His name was Joseph. Interesting was I do feel a constant pressure in my arm. So when I get questions like this through the chat room, I have a process where I look at the energy that's through the totality of the expression. You have hundreds of spirit guides gathering you by the arm. One has attempted to make first contact. And it'll be your responsibility to your awareness to use that. One of the documents is an out loud name it to claim it process in Living the Mystical Life online course is the very first one you get. It's called Becoming the Peacekeepers and Peacemakers. It's a knowledge of emulation versus emanation. It is peace and love are a unique frequency with the different levels of genius interwoven within it. At any time, you can engage your dreaming body to engage any other frequency into a frequency of peacekeeper, peacemaker, where the energy is no longer directly entangled with the I am, but it is the fullness of the dreaming body throughout all dimensions, time streams, galaxies, and universes in a form of spiritual dream court of equity that allows remedy and resolve to exist. So those beings that are in charge and polarity can have it resolved without it directly affecting you in this direct time frame and matrix, for it has been suspended and recapitulated through a dream frequency. That is the power of the peacekeeper and the peacemaker. That brings war as a concept to an end if you as an individual understand your level of responsibility. When you feel the projection, not through instant gratification, you choose to make a moment infinitely sacred for you. You bring the fullness of awareness, the challengement of your prayers, such as the Universal Union and Communion Consciousness Strike. One of the reasons I made it so long was what it takes for you to maintain high frequency. I already maintain high frequency every moment I live, from breath to breath. For that is the knowledge and wisdom. Each sacred breath you take, you build up a spiritual immunity to this system when you're on your fullness of sovereign power. Okay? So there is a guide there, and thousands of others. What is your bigger choice is how are you going to respond to them? What structure are you going to create for yourself? What inner forms of discernment are you going to use? And I know a lot of you have dreams to change the world out there, and you want to make an impact. I want to show you how to do that during this webcast by making an impact on you. My goal for this webcast is to help two types of people. Those who are beginners, you'll learn what it takes to conscious application of the sacred and what this really means to your life changes. Conscious application for the sacred. Break that down as the word phrase that it is. I mean, I am actively creating a sacred moment as part of my application that will become a memory that has all of the good frequencies behind it, so that next time I use conscious application of the sacred, there is a gift of energy waiting for me, for it amplifies and modifies my internal being and changing. That's what conscious application of the sacred. It is your spiritual locomotion that continuously comes to the moment-to-moment being. There are those that live a month or a year in the future and are not in their body for long periods of time. The beginners out there, you are in every range. Some are in the body, some are not in the body. The key is balance. Conscious application of the sacred looks at the scales. You've ever been to a gas tank and wonder why they go 3 digits over pennies, 0.999, and you never get your change back? When you use conscious application of the sacred, you meter and measure what is going through you so that there's not one 1,000th of the cent that you never get back. That is taking it down all the way. That is what that moment means. 0 point of your personal interaction where the reality isn't bombarding you and making you suppressed and conformed. Now, for those of you who are more experienced with my teachings, you will learn a more in-depth understanding of the ability to see old shells, limitations, and perception-deception filters. Those perception-deception filters are what stops everyone from going to the next level. Those are the things that are out there that we don't want to see. Many of you have heard the statement, denial is a river in Egypt. There are many people out there sailing on the Nile right now, and that's their perception deception filters. Sometimes these perception deception filters are subtle, very subtle in us. They don't allow us to see certain things going on in our environment because we are too joyful and don't want to break our joy by understanding that the energy that's moving through the room or the person that there has issues with them, and we allow it to go day after day, week after week, until it's a polluting factor in your environment. The system is doing that with us every day. Every piece of mail you get in the mailbox that's unwanted mail, all the spam and email that comes to you, all the phones that come to call your house, all the radio waves, so on and so forth. All of this builds up until such a time we have our awakening sickness or our awakening process, and we look at all the bombardment of distractions that are around us. Our perception deception filters don't allow us to see the damage or harm that's coming from YouTube commercials. We simply have to accept them as suppression and conformity from the system. Whole generations are being grown up on having listened to a commercial before they get the song, where other generations had tapes and CDs and the whole thing played through without interruptions. Other forms of perception deception filters. And then there are inception filters, things we create in ourselves. Sometimes they are very positive for our personal growth. And that is what living the mystical life daily is, allowing you to turn perception deception filters to inception filters, things that add to the greater process. Then there are times where inception filters go wrong. And this is when people have really built up fantasy lives and aren't living in the physical world, and their unseen world becomes chaotic and begins to run the seen world. And this is when karma takes over, and the backstabs and the betrayals come, and the manipulations from the people that are around you, or you doing that to everyone around you, and you don't even realize how your inception filter of your frequency of a fantasy life has changed. Conversely, inception filters. Somebody that's a high-powered lawyer and has to give commands to everyone that is out there is doing that as an inception into their reality. But that is also a perception deception filter, for they do not see that bringing it home and they're treating everyone like a slave or a worker. Those were those perception inception filters really have to be looked at as the discerning aware being. For those of you who are experienced with my teachings, everything is about perception and awareness. Okay? The limits of perception awareness will ultimately determine how much power and potency of perception and awareness you can bring into a moment and have an unlimited point of view or a mystical experience. That is a formula and algorithm. The mystical experience is the unlimited point of view, where you're no longer suppressed, repressed, or obsessed with distraction. So many people are obsessed with the distractions. And then they call on the show and ask, what's my purpose? I've never looked at my purpose, because you're always distracted. When I was young, I accepted my purpose at a very early age, and then had to learn how to live with my purpose where nobody else accepted that you could even be a purpose. What my struggle is the same struggle that many of you have right now. Your purpose is to be a big and great being on a grand adventure of the mind, body, and spirit in a world of suppression and conformity. Only we, with our perceptions, can break out of the world of suppression and conformity. That is the eternal struggle. Soul to soul, life to life, lifetime to lifetime, era to era, history to history. That is what it's about. We have moments of opportunity, infinite moments of opportunity in every moment-to-moment breath that we have. Okay? Now, what I did worked for me. And I went to a point where All of you are here. I have done the work. I am not your keeper. I am not his keeper. I am not anyone's keeper. I am not your teacher, your guru. I am just a being like you who has reached a level of sharing a unique signature frequency in which you have connected to for whatever purpose. I am a signature frequency teaching being of the moment in equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, non-separation, dreaming I am self. I have been upfront with that since the very first day in 2012 when I went on air, October 31st. I have put out 1,500 hours of material. I wanted to show the unlimited point of view. That is what makes me different than the dirty industry of consciousness, spirituality, self-help, and conspiracy, because they've all become one industry now. As the book industry collapsed and bookstores went away and it became online, all of that became one big genre. And now we must separate from what genres are as a hierarchical pecking concept, breaking rules, borders of the system that has created a hologram of suppression and regression. Okay? Sacred discipline still applies, whether you're a homemaker or a business leader, healer, college student. Whatever you want to do in your journey, you still need discipline. This is why everyone that's a drive-by listener fails. Their discipline is somewhere else. Their job occupies 80 to 90% of their life, making it a slave job. And you must carve out time for yourself so you can begin to have experiences that change and heal you. The Out Loud Name It to Claim It system is one of the most advanced forms of self-healing and self-nurturing, allowing the healing to be a process and not an event. For all of you out there that think you're going to snap your fingers in one contract revocation, have it all done, and go back to the world of instant gratification, you're lying to yourself. You are on the river in Egypt right now. It takes practice, conscious application, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, engaging your hindsight and foresight as your legacy to yourself that you pass on to the next being. In our modern world, it is hard to perform rituals, ceremonies, and practices. In Living the Mystical Life Daily online course, Out Loud Name It to Claim It system is making a moment sacred at any moment that you need and have it, so that you can make conscious application of the sacred, a signature frequency of repetition with illumination for you. It is also the a la carte system, whatever you need in the moment that works for you. That is the next level of blending the teachings from the old worlds to the new worlds. We do not have to follow suppression and conformity anymore. The power of choice is great and grand, and your legacy to yourself. It is your mantle of self-responsibility to use your awareness syncopated with your presence. This blueprint makes it easier and simpler. It will change your perspective, give you a fresh point of view, and how you can perceive your reality in a new form of awareness that has a new level of responsibility each time you make conscious application of the sacred to empower the self, reclaim forms of perception that other things are using against you, such as the Babylonian money magic system, such as the way the taxes come to you, such as the way the commercials affect you, or whatever is being presented that is a weaponized information of mass distraction. Think of that. Weaponized information of mass distraction. The global infrastructure that is out there. So here's what we're going to cover in the next 45 minutes. The 3 secrets and 3 paths to self-illumination. What is being your own self-illuminated master of the now, and what isn't? So I want to go and take my first caller.
First caller will be Donnie from Novato area in California.
Donnie from Nevada, are you there? Hello, are you there?
Unmute.
There you are.
Hello? Good, Andrew.
We got two people there. Just 1 second. So we're at Donnie from Nevada?
Novato.
Novato. Yes. There you are. Hey, Donnie, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
So what kind of questions do you have for the Living the Mystical Life Daily webcast today?
Well, I've got a few different ones of the different genres. Why don't I just ask my first one?
Okay.
I was curious if the eclipse and the accompanying unity meditations had a positive effect on timelines or the event horizon, if there is still one.
So I have been stating since 2013 that unity meditations are generally very dangerous scenarios to be involved in. So my answer is no. It has made virtually no impact. And I have maintained that statement since 2013. Now, I will explain why. All it takes is one person that has a radically different belief system who has a slightly haunted area to poison that whole thing. None of the beings that are practicing unity meditation have ever met or hugged each other in mass, have never exchanged ceremonial honors or blessings. There isn't a form of ritual clearing before or after it. It is just a dirty flash mob of energy coming together with no focus or no purpose. And there is this concept that the light worker community believes that our unity selves are all working together and that's that. No, that's bullshit. That's theory. That's not proven. There are people that have deep and powerful experiences during those unity meditations because that's what they needed. And then there are a bunch of others that stop the middle of their day with their screaming kids in the corner, go and do their meditation and never clean themselves. Don't have any form of spiritual hygiene. The monks in the monasteries live spiritual hygiene and share these unity meditations because they know that everyone working with it has done their spiritual hygiene. Our world has taken on so many of these things. So my answer, you add the internet to this, which is full of dirty spiritual energy. You have a mass assemblage of light beings with a bunch of predatory spirits around it, and it's a smorgasbord of energy harvesting for them. That's my answer to that question, and has been my answer since 2013.
Appreciate that.
Is that a hard answer for you?
Certainly. Yeah. Certainly, because, we all want to believe we're making a difference, and that's been the most obvious way for people who don't have really sacred communities around them practicing what it is you're preaching to participate or feel that they're participating. And I hear what you're saying, that it can be an easy way to bring in dirty energy underwear.
Exactly. Now, if it was organized and had some of the concept that I said behind it, where there is a good portion of people that are creating the unity meditation, who are consciously broadcasting publicly through video, you can alter some of those light waves, those negative light waves that are coming in projections. Are you going to stop the predatory spirits? No. It literally takes just one haunted 25-year-old kid that's half suicidal, that has a suicide demon in him, for it to go, holy shit, I want him to meditate with this, because I have doorways and pathways to everyone doing the same thing.
And so the light energies that people bring to these events aren't enough to outweigh these others.
Because there's no physical hug between them. No, I'm going to sage you, you sage me. No unity of touch that is the intimacy of sacredness. Okay?
Okay.
Too many people think they can remote view and remote pray into everything. No, you can't. You aren't that powerful yet. You're still operating on the microvolts, not the macrovolts. And then I know there are people who say all it takes is one super powerful being to clear it out. No, it doesn't. It only takes two negative beings to counter a positive being, so on and so forth. And when you have these mass meditations where 100, 150,000 people are being in them, does it impact this world? No. The global narrative didn't change, did it? Trump didn't quit. The angels didn't come on. The rapture didn't happen. The world goes on and on.
So then, can I ask you somewhat linked question?
Sure. This was a cool question. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. There are these events happening around the country where it really appears that they're setups for clash and violence to be happening. There happens to be one in San Francisco this weekend that I'm now hearing a lot of stuff about. And so I'm left wondering, is it best, in order to maybe have a positive influence, is it best or smartest to be present at an event like this, to do prior ritual maybe at the event site, or to do ritual from afar? And this is with the caveat that there could be violence at the event.
I would stay as far away from it as possible. I would not do a ritual or an event in something that is the potential of violence. That is the opposite of ritual.
But so intention is the core.
No. Your intention is to literally stop giant violence, but that again is stepping on a journey of another. That is being the light dictators. It is the ancestors of the land that you would work on long before. So this comes back to what I call ancestral soups, where you boil and distill the essence of who you are, what you are, and give the teachings to the ancestors of the land as an offering, and then you are backed away from that. It is the ancestors that are creating this violence and polarity in charge of the people right now. Now, specifically tailored for San Francisco, it's got some dark shit underneath it. Okay? All of those souls that died in the earthquake, most of them haven't been passed over. So there is a form of perception. Instead of being an energetic insurgent, you are dealing with the root cause, the ancestors of the land that are at unrest because the people on the surface are unaware that they're still there and dead and aren't passing them over. With a sacred geometry system that's trapping more and more, blending hundreds of different eras and generations of ghosts, which has created its own society of control. When a light worker comes into a society of undead ghost control, you're going to get whooped. Whooped. Just like that, would you walk into the demon's lair and do a ritual in front of them?
No,
but that is what you were doing. You didn't even realize it. Right.
And so, like you're saying, doing prior ritual, like with the soup, would be something. But what I'm feeling is hearing all this stuff in the media stirs us up, myself included. We want to do something, and then we're just getting involved in the shitstorm.
Correct. This is where I've talked. I'm at a personal process. A very close friend of mine that died last year, she asked me some things before she passed, and I'm a little teared up here. And I talked about the energetic insurgency that human beings can do. And what you're talking is about an insurgency versus sacred. When you go to become an energetic insurgent, you aren't sacred neutral. Okay? When one's dealing with the ancestors and creating a balance, using their potency of presence, their distilled essence of spirits and lessons and messages, it is the ancestors who can quell the anger and violence in the seen and the unseen world. That's their purpose. The energetic insurgency was to crack the system from within. Now, those that have listened to me a while know that every aspect of the information that I do, I make sure it's de-weaponized, meaning it cannot be turned into a tool of weapon that can be used against us. That is why I've taken the razor's edge of sacred neutrality to the furthest of my ability to explain and do things with it. And this energetic insurgency crosses that razor's edge line because it can be very easily misused. Just as an example, if you wanted to go and ritual and ceremony, there are other aspects where once you cross the line of neutrality, can you affect the marches? Absolutely you can. But at what point will you be no different than them?
I guess that's why even these thoughts this morning, I was feeling that razor's edge of, could I even do this and not get involved? And of course, probably not. I'm not there.
So in the past, there have been groups that have tried to organize drumming frequencies and stuff to keep peace. Now, we have a recent example of the pipeline in Montana, and then the violence that began there. Okay? That was meant as a peaceful ritual ceremony of blessing the land that turned violent, that attracted people from all over. There is a whole new way to march, okay? A whole new way. We just haven't seen it yet. The system had the 1960s and 70s to figure out counter-marching, paid provocateurs. Okay? That's real. Very real. And do you think those paid provocateurs will be in the San Francisco marches?
Absolutely.
So the next level of awareness here asks, how can anyone march in that soup of hate?
I'm getting you. I get it.
I have also said, and do you see people out on the same scale and size of the 1960s and 70s? Nothing is happening tomorrow, the next day, the next year, and the next decade. We have to stand up. The aliens are not going to come down and do it. Hollow Earth is not ever going to do it. Nothing's going to happen just as it had done decade after decade, century after century, prediction after prediction. Life will go on and on and on and on until we see the illusion of the hologram. That is the reason I came up with the Union and Communion Collective Consciousness Strike. Is it a way to shut the system down at the exchange level of DNA, saying you are just a false light hologram, and piece by piece, lie by lie, in my unseen world, I'm going to take you apart and then deprogram the reality around me and program it with my out loud, name it to claim it, self-illuminated system. This has been taught since the dawn of systems. We are just in an era, I'm using 26-letter encoded alphabet English versus Sanskrit, versus ancient Latin, versus whatever of the other millions of languages have come and gone. Do you have any further adds to that stuff? I mean, this is an interesting process we're getting to.
Well, I think you've answered the other one because so many of us want to think that a 100th monkey type moment's going to happen, but I think you've been very clear in stating that is not where we're at.
Nope. 100 monkey moments happen, just not on that grand scale. Okay? Not until there's thousands of self-illuminated masters in those marches, not one or two.
Well, then I think what I want to really ask then, because I've been grappling with this global event or this singular event within myself, and then I guess what lightworkers sense coming is that they are shifting and that they're having the realizations within themselves. And
right, and it's the infrastructure of the global infrastructure of distraction that keeps them from having the experiences. And there are times they even have the experience and acknowledge it, but because it didn't stay in their memory, because they were distracted for so long, they never honored it as experience and made it solid, real in their frequency. That's because of the modern, you get a lot of people that have, 20, 30 sex partners by the time they're 25. They can't remember each individual one as the way they were as a memory. And a lot of people do that with their mystical experience because the global infrastructure distraction just takes away the ability for them to enjoy that, review it in their mind and go, wow, that was wonderful. You know, I have a lot to say to the light worker as an industry. Guess what? It is an industry. And until you perceive light workers as an industry, a very dirty industry, it's hard to understand, you know, why people get lost. It's the dirt within it. There's no way to reform it. There's no organization at the top to march against. It's a loose connection of websites sharing affiliates, exchanging dollars. Okay? Still run by an overlord that has no seen or unseen hand. The illusion that we're all freely presenting our stuff. No, we aren't. This costs money to do. There's a producer and a director. There's a $27,000 set of cameras in studio here. I chose this level because this is what people act and react to.
Is the feeling that a lot of light workers, or I'll just use myself as an example, have to help the situation and change the world, is even that somewhat based in false? Like it almost feels like a compulsion for me at times when I'm really grounded and sane. I actually just kind of want to check out for quite a while and explore more of what you teach, more on a selfish level if you're judging it from the outside, but you know what I mean? This compulsion to help and change the world.
That's martyrship. That's martyrship.
Yeah, that is what it feels like at
Okay?
times.
Or zealotry. Zealotry and martyrship can be one and the same or completely separate and different. As long as you are sacrificing yourself for the whole, you are martyring yourself. So many people believe, but every march gives me this back. Every time I put a... No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Get out of the river in Egypt. Martyrship is martyrship. Do you right now need to get up and change the world? When you feel that compulsion, that's the martyrship. Okay? Why can't that compulsion and the genius behind the compulsion write a document of peace that everyone can understand? It can't because it would sacrifice itself. And we are literally one document, one video away from viralness and the whole world waking up. But who's going to disentangle from the infrastructure of distraction, engage their super genius, and go, I'm going to look at the patterns of this world and write a document that's going to make your socks roll up and down. Or do a video that makes everyone laugh their ass off, no matter what they are in any dimension, time stream, galaxy, or universe. The universal joke can be manifested in English or Spanish or French.
Thank you, Andrew, for giving us all permission to stop being so obsessed with the global and just embodying our own power. That was really potent what you just said. Thank you.
Becoming your own self-illuminated master is never selfish. It's the greatest gift you can give to your 7 future generations of ancestors and this planet right now. Because the foundations of being a self-illuminated master are self-healing, self-nurturing, self-discernment, sacred discipline, to amplify and modify what the consciousness will is, to follow through and make personal changes that can have seen and unseen impacts, that can change our potentials to become the infinite, unlimited point of view by engaging our DNA technology of communion and union with ourself. That's your legacy to yourself and what you pass on to yourself every day. This obsession was what you were passing on. It was the illusion or perception deception filter that says, this is what I know I can do. I know I can march. But you don't actually do it. Or this or that or whatever. Or you do it. That's knowing what you can do. But we're at the point of knowing what we can't do. Engaging our super genius, engaging our disciplines to say, I see the dirty energy chess moves that are here. Okay? And until such a time, there are thousands of self-illuminated masters creating what I call sacred neutral pushback. Those marches, those sacred unity dreaming things, the meditations, this and that, are just big predator prey grounds. Because that's what the system has designed in the last 40 years. And because there's the unseen overlord in the genres, no one realizes they've all become one. Did you have any other questions you want to ask?
No, I think I'm good for today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Those are some really cool questions.
Thank you.
All righty. So let's move on to the next caller. Okay. San Francisco. Your name and where your name?
Lily?
Hi, Lily. How you doing today?
Jesus Christ, I'm doing well. Sorry, I'm kind of, well, okay. I'm doing well, thank you very much. I have a question, and it's
Sure.
a kind of selfish question because it's about something that happened with me during the night sometimes.
Okay.
People talking about, I don't know, what I say, abduction, all this kind of thing. I have none of that. But I do feel sometimes that no, it happens. I'm sleeping and I feel that something's coming through my bedroom, but I feel it's like people, but I can't see them. And I try to run and I cannot run and I pass out. And people say like, it's a dream. It's not a dream because I'm so horrified. The fear is so much. I'm talking here and kind of, I don't know what to say. Is there such a thing like another dimension things coming through? I really don't know what it is, and it's not happening for a long time, but it used to happen to my mother, and now it's happening to me. But like for the last 5 years, maybe it isn't happening.
Okay. What part of San Francisco are you in?
Oh, I'm in San Francisco, but I'm from Brazil.
Okay. What part of San Francisco are you in right now?
Oh, I'm in Presidio, Marin County.
Okay. You are in the heart of ghost demon land, the Presidio.
Okay. But to tell you the truth is like after it happened to me for a long time. So I think
yes.
Actually I think it's even better now. But when I was in Brazil, it was more difficult.
Well,
I came to America,
yeah,
and I lived in San Francisco for 10 years. But now it's kind of easy, but it was much difficult before because I used to see things and everything, but I can't explain.
So Brazil has its own ancestral issues.
Yes.
Ancestral ghosts are not the same thing as other ghosts. Ancestral ghosts are DNA related. The Presidio is a militarized ghost factory. So you have things that are not your DNA ancestors trying to pretend to be your DNA ancestors, engaging into negative dream frequency worlds. Now you're asking about abductions. Does that exist there? Absolutely it does. Have you had abductions before? Absolutely you have. You don't remember most of them. So what are you actually going to be able to do with this? Until you decide to fortify your environment, one of the teachings that I talk about is protecting the four corners of your bedroom or the four corners of your bed, the four corners of your house, using the contract revocations as an out-cloud name it to claim it system so that whatever is targeting you moves on to easier prey until such a time you're ready to create a true fortress of your own personal belief and layers of intent into every aspect of your home. That is where the self-discipline takes over. It doesn't matter as long as if they don't have your direct permission, I'm sorry, if you have a direct no to whatever it is that they're trying to do, they cannot do it in this universal expression hologram we're working in. Okay? So those great negatives, those darkness that exist at the Presidio, I mean, I won't go into it for this webcast because it's, I'm trying to keep things positive and get people engaged into sacred discipline here. So
Yeah, I know.
the course would be perfect for you. Okay? The course is by design to take you from the very beginning of unaware of energy to the end of being able to maintain high frequency and reprogram your environment around you so that nothing has the ability to change your reality and create for you if it's not an equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order with you, not stepping on your journey.
Yeah, it has helped me a lot because you talk to, well, I don't talk much to people because it's kind of so crazy. You can't explain. I can't explain just the horror that I cannot move and I don't know what it is. And I feel this kind of things that I don't know what it is. And thank you very much. I want to try to do the course for sure. Thank you.
You are welcome. So something else for you to consider is I've talked about ancestral soups on other shows. And this is where you simmer a soup in your kitchen, let's say 3, 4, 5 hours, and you want to share your personal stories with it. Your trials, your tribulations, your life victories, the things you learned that you would want to pass on to your own children, and you impress that into the soup, and then you spread that around the outside of your property. That is a way to bring ancestral balance, which also has the ability to repel non-ancestral ghosts.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome.
Get emotional.
Yeah, you're so welcome. All right, you have a great day too.
Okay. Thank you, my friend. Bye.
Bye-bye. Let's move on to the next caller.
Next caller is Elizabeth from the Kelowna, BC area.
Elizabeth from Kelowna, BC.
Can you hear me, Andrew?
Yep, I can hear you.
Wow, this is my first time caller.
Hi, ding-a-ding-ding. Welcome to the first-time caller.
No, and I just found you probably in the last week.
How did you find me?
YouTube. Well, do you want the 3D version, or do you want the 3D version? Is always YouTube. But I never believe that people come into my life just, through machines. So you tell me how I found you. You tell me how my soul found you. You are the one to tell me to confirm or to try to tell me what my soul journey is.
I've never really had anyone turn that question back on me, and I'm intrigued with it because I've probably asked it 7,000 times.
And they always come, it's always a personality that wants to answer all.
Right. And I mean, literally, I ask every caller, how did you find out about me? And no one has ever turned that back on me. Well,
I know you only have a few minutes with everybody.
Right.
I want to make that so special. And I can go into blah, 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 but that's not important. Because I know you can feel me.
Yeah.
And you know me. So I want you to I'm there as that, like a mirror, so I want you to tell me.
You're not a mirror. First thing first, you're not a mirror.
Okay.
You are a photonic being of light. Now, how did I come to you?
Yeah.
In the reverse of this question. All right, so you were existing in a void space around the planet Tau Ceti. So now again, I'm pushing radio rules here, but it's fine. So the Tau Ceti planetary system, which is a long ways away. Now, you were existing in void space, meaning you had left the energy of your species, decided to go to the space between spaces of planets and solar systems and galaxies, and to go through a loss of your I amness. Now, this was not a degeneration of the soul. It was a way to disentangle from something you didn't want to be into anymore, and that you wanted a fresh, clean slate as a soul frequency that you were going, and you were going to enter a new I am technology. And there in void space, you met thousands of other beings that were from that star cluster system, who kind of made a void space collective. I don't know if that's the best way I can describe it. Now, I, as a transversing being of light who has superluminal thinking processes and a capability of going to wherever there is space or void space, discovered your, let's just say, illumination within a void space that should have no illumination. And because it had illumination, I could superluminal thought travel to it. And I shared my expression of what a new frequency of I am technology was. Now, that was 187 million years ago. Even though I'm here today.
Exactly.
And that created a wave of, here is a form of I am technology that hasn't been created yet. And yet it can create in void space and in physical space. And there were many that were in this void space collective that said, all right, we got to go out of void space and begin to find this. And then that's where they began to discover time travel. As a soul who could incarnate in thousands of worlds and could discover technology to physically time travel their pieces, parts, shuffle around the galaxy and universe, and have them all synchronistically appear in one unique frequency of time-space, to have an army of precognitive selves working on a singular subject matter for the singularity of universal one soul that you are. So your precognitive workforce and my precognitive workforce that has been in, let's just say, correspondence over the last 187 million years, that has culminated into this point.
Now that's beyond awesome.
Thank you. That was cool.
Yeah, this morning when I woke up, I don't know, I was brushing my teeth or whatever, and what I read in my mind's eye, what I saw in my mind's eye was, thank you, remember me. So all day I'm going, okay, somebody's thanking me in advance. Somebody, or I don't like the word somebody, but something out there is saying, remember me. And I'm like, wow, this whole explanation you're just giving me is like the beyond remember me, right? This is like beyond just like what I thought could be just asking me to remember.
Well, my thing since I've come out since day one is I will challenge you at the scale and size in which you need to think, so you can go from microvolts to macrovolts.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a 9-volt battery? Or are you the 220 plug in the wall? Or are you the infinite source? So there's your infinite source plug for a few moments through void space, through precognitive workforces, right, leapfrogging through time.
Now from that.
I just wish people would actually understand that code of a precognitive workforce leapfrogging through time. If you just break that down in your own mind, it's brilliant.
Well, that's what my last name is, huh? Brilliant. I don't know if you saw that. That's French for my last name is French for brilliant. Yeah. Anyways,
I get it. I get the joke. All right, I do.
You get the joke, right? Okay.
Yes, both you and our spirits made sure to interlayer that.
How do we bring it to the pinpoint of this now moment? Like how, like all of that immensity that you just, like you zoomed me out, like beyond, right? Beyond. So like the pinpointed to this now reunion of the two of us.
Mm-hmm. So it already has happened. That's what you got to understand.
Yes,
that's the first thing. The next part is process and integration. The third part is there eventually process and integration has to stop so you can engage sacred hindsight. You're asking a specific pinpointed question. I don't even think
how do I engage?
That question was already.
How do I engage that sacred?
Your question was already programmed into you before you even asked it. So you're giving me without even in your knowing this, you're giving me specific Akashic record triggers here. So pinpoint, it has already passed, it has already happened. It is you individually having to process and what is going to retain in memory from the whole little void space process. Now, we are still in moment-to-moment expression. There are 3 levels of, let's just say, process integration and stoppage of process of integration that you have here. The first part was, all right, I'm going to make a call. I'm trusting the spirit that's working through me and with me and so on and so forth. The second part was asking the question that not 10,000 callers have not done ever before. Thank you. Okay. Saying to me that, hey, something's going on here.
That wasn't me. That was you. Okay, go ahead.
No, that was both of us. Okay, you're working in agreement. And now the next layer here is, how does one stop the past to engage the new question?
Yes.
Okay. That's the new question. The answer was, here's how we met. Now, regularly in these shows, people ask the next question. I say, how did you find out about me? They go, blah, 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 blah. And then we go on. What is the next question after that? Because that's the final encodement of process integrate.
Okay, so you're asking me, right?
Yeah.
What my next question is?
It's engage that precognitive workforce that already has it there.
Right.
Cheat sheets are waiting for you. Just have to pick it up in the mind space and read it.
Shamanism, nature, grounding. Don't want to help anymore. I've been helping. Don't want to be out there anymore. Don't want to be scattered. Don't want to be in that immensity. Want to be, that's why maybe I use the word pinpoint. Want to be focused, grounded here. Nature, shaman, roots, me in that spiritual sense.
My immediate response is you've lost passion.
I've lost my path.
Passion, not your path.
My passion.
Your passion.
I've lost my passion for what I've been doing for 41 years. That's why I'm in the throes of retirement in the next few years. I've been a critical care nurse for 41 years, and I've been giving and giving and giving. But that's the Elizabeth. I don't want to know about Elizabeth. I want to know about brilliance.
Well,
I want to.
Brilliance.
My next path, my journey. That's
brilliance has been occupied by 41 years of a slave job.
Yeah, exactly.
And until brilliance realizes I have to retire today and last year and 25 years ago, so brilliance could be the next level. Okay. You asked about shamanism. It's the path of letting go of the old shells that hold you back. Limitations in forms of perception. You probably know more about nursing than doctors right now. And if you were to literally just say, all right, I'm going to take the next couple months off. As a nurse, you can randomly get jobs anywhere in the world. High paid.
No, I don't want to be a nurse.
Let me finish. And you were to go and invest into craniosacral level 1, 2, and 3. In 6 months, you could be trained. And in 6 months, you'd be charging $100 to $150 an hour because you'd be that damn good at it. If you engage brilliance to let go of the old job.
Yeah. Nice.
So, transit from what you were to what you are. And forgive yourself for waiting 41 years. Because you're going to have aha moment after aha moment after aha moment after you are the healer and you don't have an infrastructure of corrupt-ass doctors and nurses around you.
Yeah.
Okay? Feeding out meds and never actually healing a body.
Yeah, just I've been doing a lot of transitioning work, transitioning souls, and I'm terminally ill, and it's funny, I work in critical care, but those are not the patients that come to me. They're not the ones that want to live through their critical illness or the ones who want to transition. So I've been doing a lot of that, but that's been draining me.
Sure, 41
so I want to work with the living, not with the
So you could open your own practice in an hour.
Yeah.
Just the knowledge you have as a nurse and calling yourself as a consultant that's not giving medical advice out, right there. All right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got to believe in that.
Thank you.
You got to believe in, I don't want a paycheck from a boss anymore. I want to be my own boss and my own paycheck. Okay?
Yes.
So there is ceremony work that you can do that is called cutting the cords to the whole industry and creating new cords to your new future, which is your own business. Make that between now and December 21st, 2017. Make that your 2 hours a week ceremonial goal.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Cutting of the old, because you got 41 years of cords to cut. Every patient you ever healed, you got to cut those cords to them. You cannot go on to your future endeavor without acknowledging that this job is over, that everyone that I healed and maybe have zealously or martyred myself and took on from them, because I do sense quite a few have passed on that truly broke your soul's heart.
Yeah.
Okay? Babies and adults with people that died with no family.
Yeah.
Okay? The ones you couldn't cross over and still ghosts. All those need to be let go in your sacred ceremony of victories.
Yes.
You're
yes.
counting
I like
coup.
that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay? And until you take ceremony and ritual to a new level of conscious application of the sacred, to let go of the old shells and limitations and perception deception filters. Okay? It would also be a very good idea for you to have past life regression. Why did you stay 41 years in nursing? So some of your questions to the hypnotherapist that's going to do past life regression to you is, I want to go back to the other lifetimes where I was a nurse and I martyred myself, or I was a doctor and martyred myself, or I was a patient, and I want to begin to clear those out.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've thought, why have I stayed in this so long?
Totally.
Do you have an answer? A real, authentic human now answer?
Because I have this need to save.
Compulsion.
There's the martyr
compulsion.
Savior syndrome.
There you go. Classic light worker. And now you can change it because your awareness is different. The perception deception filter is broken until you put it back in place.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
The change isn't hard. It's the endurance of change. And that's why so many people put up the next perception deception filter, because they don't want to endure the change.
Right.
Okay? Also, what kind of body work have you been having done to yourself?
I've had probably not enough, although I have had quite a bit. But lately, it's interesting you talk about craniosacral therapy, because lately I went to get some and the person happened to not be there, so I ended up getting just a regular aromatherapy massage. But it's been calling to me, the craniosacral therapy. It's been really calling to me. But I've had deep tissue massage quite a bit. I know about my emotions all trapped in my fascia and having to work on that. And yeah. It's all, you know what? It's all about getting out of my head and getting things done. That's why I keep talking about.
So craniosacral is one course. Now you can go and learn myofascial release direct from other students, other teachers. And I would suggest that you begin to look at a variety of courses that you can begin making your own compilation of the things that you've done that complement your nursing. Because you are a critical care nurse, you will begin to realize you will know injuries innately because you've been exposed to so many, even though they're through the medical prognosis process. When you have a patient that comes to you that is depressed, what does myofascial release? Well, it stops the depression in them. It opens up the fascia, lets the energy flows, and then there's the you that can see that depression might have been caused by an injury when they were 15 from a compressed tailbone.
Right.
From touch alone. I mean, you've probably seen just about the majority of injuries under the potentials there. Or what haven't you
Although my
seen?
specialty,
Yeah.
sorry, my specialty is cardiology. So
So,
everything under the sun when it comes to the heart,
okay.
which is
Right.
which
That
is
makes you a mistress and a master of the affairs of the heart and what it takes to
yeah,
heal.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Take that as a
yeah.
victory, so that when you began to go, specialize in myofascial heart release,
Yeah.
can you think of the muscle structure that holds the heart and pericardium in place and all the fascia
Oh
around
yeah,
it?
totally.
That's the
Totally.
majority of why people have hypertension is because the
Yeah.
fascia is misshaping the heart.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need all these blood pressure medicines if you just get the emotions out of the pericardium and the
Yeah.
heart.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm really feeling
when's the
that.
last
Yeah.
time you've done internal colon cleansing?
That actually was when I was on my long-term disability. Won't even get into details, but I used to do them daily at home. Yeah. Yeah. I did deep cleansing that way.
Yeah, it's time for you to get back.
Yeah. So that goes back to like 2012, but I was off for 2.5 years after.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had some really interesting major mystical experiences that have happened to me in my life. Brought me down to my knees, but yeah. So I have the knowledge. You're right, Andrea. I have so much knowledge. I just
This for you is literally
get my ass out of the hospital.
This is for you is coming down to the words conscious application of the sacred.
Yeah.
I am using my conscious application of the sacred to begin to my disentangling process from my job that is taking away from my ability to be brilliance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? And then every time
perfect.
you use your conscious application of the sacred, it's going to amplify the disentangling process until such a day you can make a transition, okay, and feel good about it.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Okay, I'll let you blow somebody else's socks off.
All right. Just a second here. Oh, my remote stopped working. All righty. Expectations create limitations. Okay. I'm going to change it up a little this webcast. The first caller talked about, the shared meditation not being, and I talked about not being in the dirtiness frequencies. Now, there are those that are making this connections. Well, what is this call? Well, each person has their own way of coming to me. That's why I ask, how did you find out about this material? There is a group of people that are already here listening, which have a totally different infrastructure of awareness. So I'm going to engage a form of conscious application of the sacred and present another way of going through a personal healing. One that anyone can practice on themselves or assist others with. Now, we all have, I'm going to blend this all in with the same 3 teachings right here. So initially, you all have an expectation, oh, he's going to share a healing. Oh, what's it this? It's that, it's this. Okay? Stop controlling the outcome. That's the first thing. It is our perception that we live in a world of duality. We don't. What I'm doing is acting as a singularity, and through the laws of entrainment, you will feel the singularity because you are also a singularity too. We are all singularities in a perceived world of duality. And it's not about what you think, it's about what you believe. When you believe it isn't true, and if you truly believe in it, it becomes your reality. There are thoughts that become theories that our placebo enhances a theory that has no validation or truth. When validation and truth come through, the placebo amplifies even more. This is the essence of how her healing works. Healers are facilitators. I am not healing you. I am not teaching you. You're teaching yourself by making your time available to go through what? The singularity process. So, Robert, you put up on the screen our graphic. I want everyone to focus on the text, on the vision, on the frequency that is there. What I'm going to do is take the vertebrae that are in the picture and use this text and interweave them together. Okay? I now connect my cervical vertebrae 1, my axis, with my inner awareness of mind, body, and spirit awareness. I release all of the tension, suspension, and retention of all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews, pulling my axis out of alignment with my spirit. I send out pulse waves of potent present light awareness to all of my muscle, fascias, and sinews. And I recalibrate the tension, suspension, and retention of all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews to be free of triggers, stressors, and divide and conquer mentalities. So my cervical vertebrae, number 1, my axis, so I may experience the fullness of ever-present joy within my own architecture frequency that emanates my totality of life force. I connect my atlas and axis, cervical vertebrae 1 and 2, to the fullness of my presence and awareness now, for it is the height of my spirit to release all of the tension, suspension, and retention on all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews, pulling my cervical vertebrae out of alignment. I send out pulse waves of potent present light awareness to all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews. And I recalibrate the tension, suspension, and retention of all of my cervical vertebrae, muscles, fascias, and sinews that are attached to be free of triggers, stressors, and divide and conquer mentalities, so I may experience the fullness of the ever-present joy within my own architecture frequency that emanates my totality of life force. I connect C1, C2, my cervical vertebrae 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That which holds up my fullness of consciousness is now in full 100% light emanation. And I release all of the tension, suspension, and retention in all of my cervical vertebrae 1 to 7. So all of the muscles, fascias, and sinews pulling on my cervical vertebrae out of alignment, they are now realigned. I send out pulse waves of potent present light awareness to all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews within my cervical vertebrae. I recalibrate the tension, suspension, and retention of all my cervical vertebrae, of the muscles, fascias, and sinews attached to be free of triggers, stressors, and divide and conquer mentalities, so I may experience the fullness of ever-present joy within my own architecture frequency that emanates my totality of life force. I now connect cervical vertebrae 1 to 7 to thoracic 1. I bring the fullness of my mind and intention in a portal within all of my cervical vertebrae to open up the golden tube of mind protection into my thoracic system. I release all of the tension, suspension, and retention on all of my thoracic vertebrae, so all of the muscles, fascias, and sinews pulling my thoracic vertebrae out of alignment come back into alignment. I send out pulse waves of potent present light awareness to all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews within my thoracic vertebrae. I send out pulse waves of potent present light awareness to all of the muscles, fascias, and sinews within my thoracic vertebrae. I calibrate the tension, suspension, and retention in all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews attached to my thoracic and cervical vertebrae, so they are free of triggers, stressors, and divide and conquer mentalities, so I may experience the fullness of ever-present joy within my own architecture frequency that emanates the totality of life force. I now align thoracic vertebrae 12 with the fullness of my entire thoracic and cervical vertebrae system, so that it creates a portal into my lumbar 1, creating a fullness, a portal from lumbar 1 to 5. I now release all of the tension, suspension, and retention of all of my lumbar vertebrae, so that the muscles, fascias, and sinews pulling my lumbar vertebrae out of alignment come back into realignment. I send out pulse waves of conscious, potent, present light awareness to all of the muscle, fascias, and sinews into my lumbar vertebrae. I calibrate and recalibrate the tension, suspension, and retention of all of the muscles, fascias, and sinews attached to the lumbar vertebrae to be free of triggers, stressors, and divide and conquer mentalities, so I may experience the fullness of ever-present joy within my own architecture frequency that emanates my totality of life force. I now connect the fullness of my cervical, thoracic, and lumbar vertebrae into my sacrum and coccyx, for it is the reverse of the head. It is the atlas and axis of the lower body that connects to the hip and to the dreaming body. I now realign my coccyx and sacrum. I release all of the tension, suspension, and retention in my coccyx and sacrum vertebrae, so all of my muscles, fascias, and sinews, pulling that out of alignment, come back into alignment. I send out pulse waves of potent, present, conscious light awareness to all of the muscles, fascias, and sinews attached to my lumbar, thoracic, cervical, coccyx, and sacrum. I now calibrate the tension, suspension, and retention of all of the muscles, fascias, and sinews to be free of triggers, stressors, and divide and conquer mentalities, so I may experience the fullness of the ever-present joy within my own cervical, thoracic, lumbar, coccyx, sacrum, within the frequency of that spine that emanates the totality of my life force. From the top of the bottom of my spine, every muscle, fascia, and sinew has now let go of all of its tension and suspension and been replaced with the conscious application of the sacred, so there are not divide and conquer mentalities pulling my spinal column out of alignment, blocking my pathway of free will. That is an aspect of conscious application of the sacred that can take you to a whole new level. Now, for this show, I combined C1 to C7, thoracic 1 to 12. But if you individually were to do the same thing and use this basis of text to do one by one by one, connecting the golden tube of light of each one, what do you think is going to happen in your own emanation process? A whole new layer of expression can be there. You can go to each individual cervical vertebrae, each thoracic vertebrae, and use your own awareness. Is my T1 out of place? Is my T2 out of place? I did this as an emanation teaching, so you can begin to bring some of your conscious application of awareness to your vertical, your spinal column. By healing yourself, you can open up whole new ways. By paying attention to the spinal column that's in this picture and allowing the image to create awareness for you to see the webbing of muscles, sinews, and fascia connecting and pulling to these vertebrae to the left or the right or the up or the down, and the stress and damage that they have on them, bringing potent presence of awareness of light to heal the very bone structures and muscles that are there. That's the power of conscious application of the sacred awareness that you have now at this moment. Did that go through? Yes. All righty. I want to thank everyone that has come into and did this process. I would encourage you to do it some more on yourself, to go back to the different vertebrae and put your own conscious application of sacred and awareness to each one. For the purpose of this webcast, I compressed and combined it because I wanted you to be able to have an experience of all of the expressions and webbings that were connecting and interconnecting all over the place. Living the mystical life daily is a process. We have a ready for the picker. All right, so my director Debbie here, and we've got this person. Traveling busboy. Okay, traveling busboy, our team will connect to you. Yeah, our team will connect to you, and you have 2 tickets to the event. Ding, ring-a-ding, ding, ding-a-ding, ding. That's right. So, traveling busboy, if you could just contact Debbie through the chat room, that would make things very simple. All right. So here we are. We are going to move on to the next part. Because it's not about what you think, it's about what you believe. So all of you that are out there, do you believe that you did your own healing under cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx? Here is where conscious application takes something out of theory and makes it an experience. Okay? When you make something an experience, the next level of perception happens, where you can perceive if it's a river in Egypt or if it's an actuality. that you've begun to use your awareness to say that there is significant tension, retention, and suspension within my cervical vertebrae that needs to be released because I have been holding my stress in my upper body or my middle body, unable to let go of the greater processes that are out there. Now, Living the Mystical Life Daily is an online course, a 6-week online course that is the Out Loud Name It to Claim It system. What you see here is a way to take an aspect of the system and make conscious application of the sacred. The 6-week online course is about becoming the peacemaker and peacekeeper in your own reality. It is about you becoming the own self-illuminated master, about you earning and learning self-discernment skills, going through awareness trainings, high-frequency moments. At the end of the 6-week course, you have a triathlon of Out Loud Name It to Claim It systems to practice, a spiritual triathlon. This course is for the beginners or the most advanced. It'll ultimately come down to your own investment in your own sacred discipline. I've had major CEOs and Fortune 500 companies come to me privately to teach them this system so that they can take control of their own hologram, stop the projections of energies that are from their engineering department or their own family or from their competitors that are out there. Okay? So many people have benefited from the system. It is why I made it an online course available to you. We live in a world that is placebo belief truth system. That's right. Everyone is right now if you truly believe in that. And that's not New Age mysticism or bullshit. Belief is belief. Placebo is placebo. If you truly believe in something that it's doing it for you, that's great. But there are also the times where you have theory that has not gone through confirming and affirming, and our placebo creates false placebo synchronicities. There is where your inner discernment takes you down the path of confusion. Concepts are not enough. You must believe and then act. Okay? Your faith is your own faith. Your wisdom is your own wisdom. The universal spirit working through you is there in your awareness or in your unawareness. It will always be your choice of the now to engage conscious application of the sacred, to pick up a picture on the spinal column, write a few words like that, to go through your own conscious application of the sacred healing of the self. Okay? Now, this process is something that I created when I was very big into hands-on healing, doing myofascial release, remote or personal. Why? Because that's what I enjoyed at that era of my life. That was my advanced form of teaching and learning. Okay? This expression has gone through many different forms of change. Some of it was just chakra system interaction. But for this particular healing, it was to realign awareness so the fullness of your spirit can be within your cranial pulse, because it is your own legacy to yourself. Now, if one were to use prayer associated with the cervical vertebrae, I pray for each cervical vertebrae, each one. I bring the fullness of my guides, guardians, and angels and beings into it. That's a whole new level that you can uncover. I encourage you to look at this text, modify it for yourself, modify and amplify it for your own belief system, because that's the core of who you are. Without that little spinal column going down, you'd just be a brain in a jar. Okay? A brain in a jar. Okay? That has a heart. None of the spinal column exists without a heart. Do you know where the heart connects to on this image? Find the fascias and sinews that are in your cervical and thoracic systems that connect and pull the heart out of place. Conscious application of prayer, conscious applications of 26-letter encoded English that take pulse waves of light and realign the spinal column and deprogram the fascias, muscles, and sinews that hold the very body up. This is also gratitude for the self. This is self-healing and self-nurturing on a new layer. Can those that don't allow body work on them use this to not do body work anymore? No. This is an awareness training, self-discernment training. Because just within that picture alone, the awareness of how you can defend entities from yourself, take over your dreaming body to be within your lumbar system so that it actually has direct neural access to your brain, that's what lucid dreaming is in the first place. But science and the light worker community is not going to allow you to see a process that would give you full dreamtime activity through your lumbar interaction of the synaptic expression of the brain, through the cranial sacral pulse, where you are always awake, whether you're asleep or awake. Okay? Dreams are real. So I ask you to take this to the next level for the next week of practice. Once a day. Make it take 25, 30 minutes. Add words to the different thoracic positions. Feel what it does within yourself. Living the Mystical Life Daily online course. It's a 6-week training course. Okay? How to become your own self-illuminated master. Okay? In week 1, you'll be learning about the out loud name it to claim it system. I'll go into why it's important to use it in your own voice, and why it's important to discern your own voice. Each week, you'll be having a whole new expression of the out loud name it to claim it system. Now, over the weeks, I've given this process over and over and over again. People have been successful at this for years of changing themselves. So the special today, for those of you that want to sign up for the course, you'll be getting all of the bonuses that I've been saying over and over again. The Alchemy course, the Solstice and Equinox course, 2 free tickets to come to the event, 25 hours plus of teachings. Would you apply all the bonuses? The only thing stopping you now is your own future conscious application of the sacred. So many of you get the course and only practice a little bit. I'm giving 2 free tickets away to come to the event and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Who else out in this light worker industry is doing that? A handful? That's because I know what this information does when people actually apply it. And they apply it at the most basic level, such as the callers you've been hearing that have been coming and having this stuff change them over and over and over again. I could have charged 30, 50, 70,000 to do this. But on a regular basis, people kept coming to me privately, and what it took, 10, 12, 15 hours of private time with me. I've now compressed that into a 6-week course that you could practice at home on your own. Come to the live events to learn to the new level. Being a part of the membership to have the continuing teachings that can make your conscious application of the sacred fun with yourself again. If it's not fun, why are you doing it? What's the worth value to it if you get no fun out of it? Right now, you all have choice. October 5th through the 8th is the next event. There will not be another one till next year. Those of you who want to get on the ball and start rolling, come to the event. When you purchase the course, you get 2 free tickets to come to the event. 2 free tickets, plus all the hours of study material. There you'll be meeting people just like you, trying to engage at different levels of their own awareness. The whole reason I put these physical events together is to have the soul families to come together. The Dreamtime event that it is. Because we are singularities, not compartmentalized individuals. Okay? Is it worth for you to take a risk and clicking on the want to enroll button below now? How many of you are at your 10th webinar? Okay? I offer that 30-day money-back guarantee for a reason. It's an out loud name it to claim it system. If it doesn't connect to you immediately, it won't connect to you in your current form of evolution in life. We are working with people out of mediocrity. If you're stuck in mediocrity right now, that's your stuckness. Here is a lifeline over and over again to self-illumination, so repetition with illumination is something real for you. It's your time now. Click on that button below and say, I want to enroll now. Get your 2 free tickets to come to the event October 5th through 8th. You have a limited amount of time to book hotel rooms. We have blocked hotel rooms off so that you get a big discount when you sign up for Living the Mystical Life Daily through the hotel. Giant discount. I believe it's like $120, per night. So you're saving like almost $600 more. I make these events for you to come together and have your synchronicities, real synchronicities, not false placebo synchronicities based off of ideological theory with no truth or merit behind it. All of you that have thought about clicking on that button below, here's your chance to think about it again. If you don't take a chance on yourself, what will happen to you? Nothing. Nothing will happen. And you'll come to the next webcast and the next webcast and the next webcast. You might get a little here, get a little there. But until you invest it yourself at a new level, what's going to happen? Repetition for repetition's sake. This is why I chose to bring up the spinal column process here for people. Most of you are stuck at the spinal column level. It's ultimately why you can never get yourself started and going. That pressure on every cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, lumbar, coccyx, and sacral is so intense, you don't know if you're going left or right. The metaphorical chicken without a head. It's time you become your own self-illuminated master. It's time for you to no longer be afraid of what you're giving up. All you're giving up is your own divine power. And you choose to take it back with the out loud name it to claim it system. It's time to go beyond the maturity of adulthood and to be that child again with the wisdom earned and learned of many lifetimes of experiences. It's your time to become your own self-illuminated master. So click on the button below and I'll see you in the course. Thanks a lot, everyone.